Hello, and welcome to another card making video. Today, we will be using products from the Pretty Pink Posh 2023 August release. From this release, I will be using the Halloween Mug Editions die set along with the layered spiderweb stencil. To create the Halloween mugs, you will need the original mug from the Winter Mug die set. Here is the two-piece layered spiderweb stencil. However, in today's card, we will only use stencil A. The stencils are laser etched at the bottom to let you know which stencil you are currently using. To add color to my mugs, I will be using Ranger's Distress Mica Stain. Starting with the color Hocus Pocus, I will spray the top half of the mug, followed by Ominous Twilight for the bottom half of the mug. And since Ominous Twilight is a darker color, that should give me more of an ombre effect. I will repeat the same steps for the second mug using colors Phantom Mist and Iron Gate. Another thing that comes in super handy is the Simon Says Stamp card kit shipping box. Today, that's what I'm using as a splat box, and it helps keep all my spray inside and not all over my work surface. Using my We Are Memory Keepers mini guillotine cutter, I will trim down my Gina K Designs Moonlit Fog cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now that my panel is trimmed down, I will ink blend the outside perimeter of my card using my Distress Oxide inks in the colors Hickory Smoke and Black Soot. I will apply both colors using blending brushes. When ink blending, I'm making sure to not cover the center of my card, leaving it the original color of the cardstock, so only ink blending the outside perimeter. So I'm going to continue to ink blend using the Hickory Smoke, making sure I've covered the entire outside perimeter. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch to Black Soot. And I'm going to repeat the same steps as I did with the Hickory Smoke. Now, while I'm repeating the same steps with the Black Soot as I did with the Hickory Smoke, one thing to keep in mind is I am ink blending the outside perimeter, but I'm also trying not to cover up the Hickory Smoke. I want to make sure that my card base looks like I have 3 different colors. Again, leaving the center of the card panel the original color of the cardstock. With the ink blending complete, we're going to go ahead and clean off our waffle flower stencil mat using some water in a distress sprayer and paper towel. I'm going to bring in my Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink because we're going to go ahead and stencil the spider webs to our background. You will notice that I ink smudged the white pigment ink on my stencil mat, and that is a way to keep my ink pad clean and not contaminated with the colors of my background. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up all the spider webs. And as I finished applying my ink, the stencil shifted and smudged parts of the spider web. And I did contemplate whether I could cover it up or if I should just flip my panel over and start over. And unfortunately, the parts that were smeared, I don't think I could cover. So I left it in the video and I just flipped my panel over and started the ink blending process all over again. The crazy part about starting all over is, well, one, starting over, but then I didn't even learn from my first mistake. I mean, granted, the second time I ink blended, everything went smooth, but like looking back, I'm like, I did the same thing. Like you would think I would learn and maybe tape down my stencils so I wouldn't have that issue, but nope, stubborn me just did the same thing and got lucky it all worked out. But that's another option, is to tape down your stencil so that way it doesn't shift. But normally I don't have that issue. I'm not really sure what happened. I think I just not paying attention. So again, I just smush down the white pigment ink so that way I don't contaminate my ink pad. This time I actually paid attention and was a little bit more careful because I really didn't want to cut out another panel and start this over for the third time. So now that this panel is complete, I thought, well, let's add some splatter. And let's add some shimmery splatters. So I brought back my splat box and decided to use the color Empty Tomb. Again, my mica stain, because they have that shimmery component in them. So you got to shake the bottles really well because the mica settles at the bottom of the bottles. So you want to shake them up really well before you use them. I forgot to mention that earlier. And then I'm going to go ahead and set it off to dry. And now we're going to build our mugs. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with my Frankenstein mug. I cut his hair out of black glitter cardstock. And I'm using my Gina K Designs liquid adhesive, my favorite liquid adhesive, to adhere everything together. And another tip is you should probably let your mica stain dry. I did not, so it was a lot harder to assemble everything and make everything stick. So I'm being very careful not to actually touch the mica stain, otherwise you will see my fingerprint. And then I thought, you know, I want to use my black pearls for his eyes, and I wanted to do one big eye, one little eye, because I thought it was just too cute. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere his eyes down. And that little smile is too cute, but it was the hardest thing to glue on because it was so small, but totally worth it. For the next mug, we're going to go ahead and make kind of a spooky drink. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the bubbles because I totally forgot. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my low tack tape to keep all the bubbles inside the die cut. I'm going to go ahead and spray them with mica spray, so it was easier to keep them together than to try to spray them individually. I feel like I was going to waste a lot of the mica stain if I did it that way. Once again, make sure you shake your mica stain really well to get the mica mixed into the pigment. And then I'm going to use the colors Flickering Candle and Bubbling Cauldron. Whew. Another die part of the August 23 release is the Large Boo Shadow die set. So I didn't use the shadow, but I did die cut the Sentiment Boo out of black glitter cardstock. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything together. Again, tip would be to make sure your mica stain is dry. I was too impatient, so I got it all over my fingers. I'm trying to use my acrylic block to push down the glued pieces so that way it's not all over my fingers. And then using my tweezers and my liquid adhesive, I'm going to glue down the word boo. Press down with my acrylic block, and then I am going to, oh, I forgot, I cut out the spider, this cute little spider that I want to put on my Frankenstein, and I put a 3D foam square, but again, because my mica stain wasn't dry, I ended up moving the spider, so I had to glue it down with, oh, see, moved it, with my liquid adhesive. That stuff's amazing. If you haven't tried it, you should. And then now I had to adhere the bolts to my Frankenstein mug. I totally forgot. Which is completely silly because it totally completes him. He's just the cutest. I can't. And his eyes, by far my favorite. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the ghost out of vellum. I thought it was fitting since the other mug said boo. And so now I'm trying to figure out my placement. I do know that the mug with the sentiment boo will be popped up with foam squares. And so now that I found my placement, I kind of used the ghost as kind of a guide once I've put glue on my Frankenstein to kind of, like I said, a guide to place him back where I liked him originally. And then I'm going to press down with my block. And so I'm going to do the same thing once I figure out where I want the second mug. I'm going to put that ghost to help me with my placement. And so I kind of skipped forward because I struggle taking the backing off of these 3D foam squares. I love them, but taking the backing off is a challenge for me. And I put liquid adhesive on that to give me some wiggle room just in case I kind of needed to move things around, which I end up moving this mug, so it's a good thing that I did it. And then once I found the perfect placement, then I pressed down, and now that mug will not go anywhere. And then I'm going to glue my little ghost. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere the rest of the bubbles. Almost like embellishments. In fact, the second bubble I actually popped up with a 3D foam square and then just glued down all the others. Now that the bubbles have all been adhered down with the shimmer and shine, I did not feel that I needed to add any embellishments. So this will complete today's card project. Using the new August 2023 products from Pretty Pink Posh. Here's my original that inspired me to do today's card. I hope you enjoyed today's card project. Thank you for stopping by. I would love it if you gave me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. See you in the next video. Bye!